I'm Larry Menti. Coming up next on Jersey Matters, getting Latinos in New Jersey out to vote. We will talk to the top Latina political leader in the state. Also, have you ever dreamed of finding something extremely valuable in your house? A North Jersey couple did just that. Those stories and much more because Jersey Matters. Welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. The Latino vote, as you keep hearing, is going to be huge in this election, to borrow a term from Donald Trump. But what about in New Jersey? To talk more about that, Arlene Quinones-Perez, who is a partner at the law firm of Dakotas, Fitzpatrick & Cole. She's also chair of the Hunterdon County Democratic Committee, and you were a delegate at the Democratic Convention.
I was.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. Thank you for having me on. It was a great experience. It was my first time going to a presidential convention. It was certainly an experience.
What is the Latino population in New Jersey?
It's about 19%, which is the largest minority that we have in New Jersey.
And what is the percentage of registered voters who are Latino? Do we know that?
It's a high percentage. I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's a high percentage. We'd like to see more people actually coming out and voting. We have the registered numbers. It's just getting people out to actually vote is sometimes a concern.
And that's a problem in many states, not just in New Jersey, where there is an effort to go out and register Latinos, but then they don't show up to the polls in the numbers that they should.
Unfortunately, that does seem to be the case, and I think the more that you get them engaged, I mean, multiple surveys show that you have to get the voters actually engaged. The same thing goes for the Latino community. How often do Latino community members actually get engaged in campaigns? How many times are they being called to come in and volunteer for a campaign or understand an issue? That's definitely part of it.
They kept talking about, I know they talk about it in this election coming up, but in 2012 they talked about the Latino vote and how important it was that it's the largest minority group in the country, and who they go for could determine the election. And yet I was shocked when we were talking about the actual percentage of Latinos that show up to vote. And you said something else that was fascinating to me when we were talking a second ago. The numbers that show up in this country compared to the numbers that show up from where they might have come from.
And I'll give you an example. In Puerto Rico, the voting rate there is about 98%, which doubles what we have here in the United States for everyone that's voting. So it's an interesting when you actually see that dynamic, and you need to start asking the questions of why are they so engaged in Puerto Rico.
And in this country, it's about 14%?
It's a very low percentage.
That's about right,
yeah, it's
right?
About right.
It's about 14%. That's embarrassingly low.
I think when you look, the numbers for voting in general are embarrassing low across the board, whether it's the Latino community or just the regular everyday person. It's embarrassing low what actually turns out to vote.
But you would think, especially the Democratic Party, because especially in this election, because of the rhetoric of the Republican nominee, that there would be this massive get out the vote for the Latino community. But it should have been also in 2012, and it should have been in 2008, and it doesn't seem to translate. Is there a failure on the Democratic Party in getting out the vote?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a failure. I think both parties need to work harder in getting Latino community out to vote. I think you're going to see Hillary come in and hopefully truly engage the Latino community. I know in New Jersey she has been before the primary, before the convention, and I believe she will be doing it going forward as well.
Do you expect a larger Latino turnout because of Donald Trump?
I think that you're definitely going to see a larger turnout. I certainly would hope so. I think when you have someone that has said they're going to continually build this wall on one side of our border, when he mocks a federal district judge for being biased just because he is Latino, I'm hoping that that's going to resonate within the community and certainly bring them out to vote.
Are there enough Latinos in public office?
Not enough to make me happy, certainly not. In New Jersey, you have 120 legislators. We are down below 13 now, just in the legislature alone. When you look at across the state, we don't have many mayors. We have the only Latina mayor that we have in the state in Perth Amboy, Mayor Wilda Diaz. So when you're looking at those numbers, it is disappointing.
But everybody keeps talking, since you don't have a large pool to choose from, everybody keeps talking about possibly a Latino lieutenant governor.
That's still possible. While it may be a smaller pool, you have highly qualified Latinas and Latinos that could actually serve in that position and certainly serve as governor if they chose to.
Do you see that sometimes, especially if someone hasn't risen to the level of being a lieutenant governor candidate, let's say? And I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying if that is. Do you see that as pandering?
I don't see it as pandering. I would hope that when we're dealing with that type of community, that's 19% of the community, it's seen as something that's just vital and important to have a person that can speak to that community at the table, discussing what their ideas would be and what their policies would be.
And it certainly would only be pandering if the person wasn't qualified for the office.
Of course.
If the person's qualified, then that is off the table. What about you? Do you have bigger political ambitions in the state?
I'm actually a very happy partner at Dakotas, Fitzpatrick and Cole, and I look forward to staying there for a number of years to come. I think for me, I definitely like to be working and ensuring that the right people are in the positions that they need to be in, absolutely.
In talking about the national election again, is Hillary doing enough?
Enough in what sense?
Enough to invigorate, to excite the Latino community across the country?
I think she needs to do and will do a better job at exciting in general. Unfortunately, for some reason, people do not feel she's an exciting candidate. And if you actually hear her speak, and I've heard her speak in small quarters, she's an excellent speaker. I think that people need to, I don't know how you get that across. At the convention, while I think she had an amazing speech, the substance was amazing. You know, the delivery was flat, you could say. It just doesn't get the energy that we would want a presidential candidate to have.
It seems like a lot of the energy in this campaign for everybody, not just Latino, not just with Latino population, is voting against someone and not voting for someone, and that's a sad state of affairs.
It is. It is, and I think you see that in the Republicans that are coming out endorsing Hillary Clinton. I think that you see that because they're going against someone, not necessarily for her, and that's unfortunate because she is a very good candidate. But it's just this dislike for Trump at this point and just some of the antics that he's used, and certainly with the Quan incident. I mean, these are some serious concerns when you're talking about a president that will have his hand on a button that could get rid of an entire country.
It's interesting. I talked one time to a top consultant, and he was Latino. He was from Mexican descent. With the McCain campaign, and he was talking about the fact that the Republicans, if you take all of the issues for Latinos and you go the top 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down, most Latinos would say they're Republican. Except when you start the conversation with, we want you out of the country, it doesn't matter what comes 2, 3, 4, and 5. Is that a fair point?
Well, it's interesting because if you look at different surveys that have been done, most of the same issues that are important to the Latino community are important to the community as a whole. Education, the ability to get a job, a well-paying job. Immigration is actually one of the lowest issues when you actually survey the Latino community in terms of what their concerns are. So I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Except
if your position on immigration, no matter where it is that we want to throw you out of the country, then it becomes more important.
It does. It absolutely does. Then it brings it to the forefront because that's one of the main issues that he's talked about so vocally in his campaigns. And it's more of just, hey, we don't like you. And it doesn't even necessarily mean a border for Mexico. It's just kind of like, we don't like any of you. Again, I find that offensive because I'm here and I'm happy and I was born here. So if I walk through the door and he sees just this person that he thinks doesn't belong here, that's offensive.
How active will you be in this election?
Very active. I mean, as chair of Hunterdon County Democratic Committee, we're trying to be very active. Obviously, you know the numbers in Hunterdon. It's a Republican county, so we have a lot to do, but I can tell you there's a lot of supporters there that want to be very active, and of course with the state party as well.
Thanks.
You're
nice
welcome.
to meet you.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Very impressive. Arlene Quinones Perez, a partner at Dakotas, Fitzpatrick and Cole, and a chair of the Hunterdon County Democratic Committee. And I got a feeling no matter what she says, a candidate for something sometime in the future. When we come back, there is an important referendum coming up on November 8th about casinos in North Jersey. We'll talk to someone who's running a coalition to try to make sure that amendment does not pass when Jersey Matters continues.